Hello, 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 hello. It's Monday morning. My name is Linda. I'm your back in the groove again coach with a pod. Well, I was going to say podcast. No, it's not a podcast. It's actually a live. I'm broadcasting on Facebook. I'm broadcasting on my YouTube channels. Hello, how are you? How are you today? Who's viewing me? You're viewing me on Facebook. How are you doing today? So over the last few weeks, I've talked about what you can do to ignite your groove, tapping into hope and doing things that you love, right? All of those things, tapping into hope and doing things that you love, will also inspire you. So I want to talk more about inspiration and what inspires you. And I'm asking you, I know that there's a couple of people watching me, what inspires you? What do you do to get inspired? I know for me, if I want to find a new recipe, I will often look at recipe books and I'll just go through the recipe books and find something that speaks to me, something that inspires me. So I'll look at recipe books. But, other people who are maybe having to self isolate will often get their inspirations through other ways, such as, and I'm just taking a quick look at an article. There's a lot of people now that have been going on virtual tours, either a virtual tour of a museum or they're looking at a play through their homes. Have you noticed that creative people will always think of ways to channel that creativity? So they might accept status quo, but they also have the ability to think outside of the box and by creating new things. I don't know if you've noticed that, but there's a lot of people out there now that have been doing crazy, silly, fun things because life right now is so crazy that sometimes that pushes us to be creative. Um, Hi there. How are you today? I know that when I get stressed and I don't like my current situation, for example, that I'm going to start dreaming of ways to get out of it. Have you ever done that before? Whoever's watching me now, do you ever find that you're dreaming of ways to get out of a stressful situation? Those dreams are what can actually inspire us to make changes. Even though those dreams might seem silly, and you might think, well, I'll never do that. There might be parts of those dreams that you can actually do. So that's one way of tapping into your inspiration is by allowing yourself to dream those what might seem to be silly things. You might also want to check out some virtual museums to strike up that creativity. There's a lot of art in those virtual museums, and you might want to start getting inspired by getting into art. Now, a lot of people too at this time of the year think, because of the current situation, they might think, you know what, I've always wanted to do this. And maybe you've always wanted to write poems, or maybe you've always wanted to be an artist and to draw or to write songs, to tap into that creative side. And sometimes it's just a matter of tapping into your heart, tap into your spirit, and allowing what comes up to come up to surface. Oftentimes, visualization helps with that as well, and meditation does help with that as well. But, sometimes you can just get inspiration just by looking at outside. I'm looking outside right now and I'm noticing the changes in weather. and changes in season. And right now, there's a bit of snow on my deck. The big tree that's in front of me, doesn't have any leaves at all. No leaves at all left on the tree. I'm just looking. Nope, it's gone. The leaves are gone. Bit of snow on the deck, little bit of snow on my grass, and it reminds me of the first snowfall that I ever saw when I was a kid. I remember when I was a kid and I saw the first snowfall, I was so excited. So sometimes to tap into our creativity, we have to kind of put our kids' hat on. We have to put our kids' hat on because when we allow ourselves to be a kid, when we allow ourselves to play, we start thinking of all sorts of other things that we can do to inspire us and to tap into that creativity. So that's what I want to leave you with today is, you know, what has COVID inspired you to do or to be? And how are you going to allow that child of yours, that inner child of yours, to leap out and do something that's crazy and that's fun? If you are postponing having fun because of COVID, if you're postponing doing activities because of the COVID, you're in a sense kind of taming that inner child. You're kind of taming that creativity part of you. So allow it to come up. And maybe you think, well, I'm going to wait until, things settle down a bit more. Well, maybe there's one thing that you could do. Maybe it's not the whole thing that you can do, but maybe there's a few things that you can do. Some people just start by writing, by journaling. And, as they're journaling and they're journaling about their day or they're journaling about dreams that they've had, it, that the allowing the thoughts to come on paper, that in itself can be inspiring. And as you continue to write, you might think, oh, wow, I'm getting all these ideas now. So allow yourself to tap into that creativity by writing in a journal as well. Hello, how are you today? I'm just saying hi to whoever's viewing me. How do you tap into your creativity? What inspires you? And I'm talking to you who's watching me right now. How do you tap into your creativity? Or what inspires you? When I take a look at this, hi Jaden, how are you? So what do you do, Jaden, to get inspired, to tap into that inspiration? What do you do? Good morning, Superior 7. How are you? What do you do, Superior 7, to tap into creativity, to get your inspiration? What do you do? Tell me more about what you do. I know that you mentioned that you sketch, right? You like sketching. Does sketching inspire you, or maybe I should ask, what inspires you to sketch? How do you get inspired to sketch? Tell me more about that. Some people, if I was an artist, I would take a look at this first snowfall, and that would probably inspire me to sketch something. It probably would if I was an artist. So what inspires you, Superior 7, to sketch? Okay, so I'm just going to write this down. I'm fine. Well, great. I'm glad you're doing great. And for inducing creativity, I approach people like you. Sure. That's one great way of doing it. So you look at other people that are inspiring or that could be inspiring you just to get some new ideas. I loved I loved Oprah Winfrey for that. I found her quite inspiring every time that she interviewed somebody new or every time that she gifted people with her um, with her toys and with everything that she was giving to people, the trips and so on. I found that very inspiring. It told me that there's a lot of kind people out there. There's a lot of people that are giving. So, by looking around and finding people, maybe like me or other people that are doing acts of kindness, that gives hope, but it can also inspire you, for example, to also be kind, right? There's all sorts of different ways that we can tap into our inspiration. Now, the reason I'm talking about that today is because I know that a lot of people um, during this time, during this COVID, they feel that they're uninspired. And I'm saying that um, that can be a choice, that you can actually choose to look at it from a, how is this COVID going to inspire me? And I've seen a lot of great videos over the last few weeks. I've seen, I'm just trying to think of one in particular where there was a family. It was a man, his wife, and kids in their house in their pajamas, and they're videotaping this, and they're singing a song to a different tune, but they're using their own words, and they're dancing like crazy, doing the COVID dance just to shake it up, just to show the world that they are, maybe they're going crazy, like maybe all of us are, but that there's something that you can do with this craziness that we're all going through, right? And a lot of people will choose to do something with this creativity, do something with this craziness, I should say, as opposed to just accepting it. Now, I'm not saying we can't accept it, because I think that's important. We need to accept what's happening, but we don't have to just stay put and say, "Oh well, what am I? When is this ever going to be finished?" Because let's face it, we don't know when it's going to be finished. I'm just going to share your what you've said here. But people can be more creative during this time, as many people are doing like useful Zooms, discussions, groove programs, many more. Absolutely, that's right. You see, so there are more ways to tap into creativity now. It seems that because of COVID, there's a lot of people now that are doing many types of discussions to encourage people, to inspire people, to motivate people, because we all know that this time can be very, very difficult for a lot of people. And although it is difficult for some people, it doesn't have to be, uh, you know, an all or nothing, meaning um, I'm not going to do nothing or I'm going to do everything. I'm going to pretend that it doesn't exist. No, we need to accept that it's existing, but there's a lot of things in between the I'm not doing anything and I'm going to pretend that it doesn't exist and do it all. There's a lot of things along that continuum that we could do that could allow us to, enjoy our lives a little bit more. So I'm glad that you mentioned discussion groove programs, right? My Ignite Your Groove program, 5-day boot camp, that's the purpose of this, right? That's the purpose of your Ignite Your Groove 5-day boot camp. It is to encourage you, to inspire you, to get you to think of something that you could do. This 5-day boot camp allows you to look at your mindset, and it allows you to look at your environment, allows you to look at your skills, and to look at your vision, to envision something, and of course to set some actions. It's a 5-day, because every day those that are registered for it will be getting a different video every day to get them to get back in their groove, to get them inspired again. Because it's one thing to say, I hate what's what's happening now, but we can take that hate, that dislike, and channel it into love, and channel it into, no, I don't think so. What do you think? Is being fearful always bad? What do you think? Superior 7? Do you think being fearful is bad? I'm going to ask you to tell me what you think about that. I think when we're afraid, it's an indication that we have to be cautious, have to be careful, because oftentimes that fear, for me, this is just my personal opinion, that fear is our instinct telling us, hang on, tread carefully, be cautious, be careful. It doesn't mean I agree. I agree. It can be good sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. It's there to tell us, okay, don't just jump into this activity. You don't just jump into whatever you're doing. Be mindful that there could be aspects of it that are a little bit scary or a little bit fearful. There are certain things that I'm aware of that I'm afraid of. And I'll just give you a very blatant example. I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of heights. And I remember the very, very first time that I had to climb something very, very high. Now, normally, I don't have to do that. This was during a team building activity when I was in college. We were brought to a camp and we had to do different types of obstacle courses. And one of them was to climb really high on this wall. And I can feel myself breathing hard and feeling that I had to do it because there were people, my fellow students, colleagues were behind me waiting for me to do it. And I remember being hesitant. I remember being afraid and not doing it. But I had people behind me waiting to get onto this wall. So I felt, okay, I guess I got to do it. And so I felt I had to. so so I started climbing it. But along the way, I was afraid. I felt, oh my God, I felt I can't continue doing this. But I did slowly but surely. I kept climbing up until I finally got to the top. And then I took a breath and I went, whew, I did it. I did it. And then I had to propel myself, I should say, off that wall. Now, did that cure my fear for heights? No, it didn't. I'm still afraid of heights. So now I use this lesson, the fact that I can do it, although maybe with peer pressure at the time, I use that no now. And when did I do this last time? Oh, one of the last times that I was challenged in that way was a few summers ago when my sons and I and granddaughter went on another obstacle course, but we also did some zip lining and hanging bridges. This is in Ontario. I had done that before in Costa Rica and yeah, in Costa Rica. And I'm telling you, I still experience that anxiety and that fear. And I think, hi Tina, how are you? We're just talking about, oops, let me put that on a little longer. There you go. We're talking about, is fearful always bad? No, it's this fear that I was experiencing while I was on these hanging bridges and while I was ziplining. It was real, man. Like there's no ifs and buts about it. But it was also telling me, just be careful, take some extra precaution, be aware that this is risky, especially when you're jumping off a zip lining. I don't know if you've ever tried that. Have you ever tried that, Tina or Superior 7? Have you ever done some zip lining? Zip lining? I'm trying to find some pictures of what zip lining looks like so you have an idea. Let me see if I could find a picture of it. There. Okay. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Just a moment. There. I don't know if you could see that. I hope you can. This is zip lining. There's one of the hanging bridges. This is what I'm talking about. That scares me every time I do it. And I don't do it very often, but I did it a couple of summers ago. And it's scary. It really is. And so that fear is there to protect me, to warn me, be careful, don't be too risky. But it doesn't say don't do it. Now, there is one thing that I am afraid of that I won't do, and that is bungee jumping. I'm not interested. So I've analyzed the pros and cons. I'm not even interested. It's not something that I even want to do. So is fearful always bad? No, not at all, right? Not at all. Now, now these days, um, I'm not sure if you're talking about being fearful of COVID. I think, and again, this is just my personal opinion. Um, am I fearful of it? I'm aware that it's out there. I'm aware of it, and I'm taking my precautions. Right? I'm not um, stopping my life from moving on. I am also choosing not to be in large groups. Right? So on the weekend, I had some friends actually invited me to go with them, but I thought maybe there would be a lot of people there, so I chose not to go, and I hung out in my city. So I think fearful isn't always bad. It's something that tells us to just be cautious. And sometimes fear can actually inspire us as well, right? Sometimes fear can be inspiring. It's interesting to know why we're fearful and how that can actually motivate us to think outside of that box. So fear can actually be inspiring for some people. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today is, has this COVID thing inspired you? Inspired you to do different things, to be creative, and maybe to do things that you never thought of doing. And if it hasn't, maybe it's time to start looking at, oh, are you a man? I have no idea. I do I do coach other women. You're right, women and men. You're right. My group is for women, but that doesn't mean that I don't coach men. I offer coaching to men individually. Now, men wouldn't be coming in my group, in my Ignite Your Groove boot camp, because that particular group is for women. But that doesn't mean that I don't coach men as well. Actually, I was approached by a man a couple of weeks ago to help him with dating. So, of course, I'm actually, looking forward to providing him with some support. So, yeah, I do work with men as well. I say that I primarily work with women, but that doesn't mean that I don't work with men as well. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And so let's talk a little bit more about your sketching. So you're a young man who loves sketching. What do you do with your sketching? And how do you find inspiration with your sketches or for your sketches? Superior 7. Where do you find your inspiration for your sketches? Because you mentioned to me the last time that you you are into sketching. I'm really glad that you're watching me, and thanks for telling me a bit more information about you. It's all it's always helpful to know a little bit more so that my questions can be, geared to more geared to you. Okay. So YouTube, and that's that's wonderful. Isn't it wonderful? YouTube is so awesome. Now, do you get them like do you when you say you get your inspiration from YouTube videos, do you mean sketching videos? Do you mean videos like comedies? Because there's so many different things on YouTube, right? Including me. I'm on YouTube too. I've actually got two YouTube channels. One is the Back in the Groove channel, and the other one is my English teacher Linda GR channel on YouTube. Right now, I'm broadcasting on both of those YouTube channels and on my Facebook group. So when you say you get your inspiration from YouTube videos, can you be a little bit more specific? I am curious. And I know that somebody else is viewing me from my Facebook page. How do you get your inspiration? How do you get inspired? And have you allowed COVID to inspire you? Because this is what we're talking about today. How have you allowed COVID to inspire you, or how are you allowing it to inspire you? That's more the question. All right, so we will end it there. Thank you so much for viewing me today. And please, if you are watching this um, on the replay, right? Hashtag replay. If you are a woman and you want to ignite your groove, I encourage you to join my Ignite Your Groove 5-day boot camp. I'm going to add the information in the live right now. There. That's for women who need or want to ignite their groove. See you soon, everybody. See you in a couple of days for my next live. Bye now.